Greetings everyone, my name is Ethervel and welcome back to my Let's Play of Mega Man Unlimited. In the last part, I completed all 9 bosses of the teleporter hatch room of Occupied Wily Fortress 4 stage. And now, it's time to resume where I left off and go downwards to fight the boss. These sections basically consist of a gauntlet of few enemies, few obstacles. It mainly is to recharge your E-tanks, W-tanks, life energy, and weapon energy. And of course, to get those life pellets here, you need to have the Yoku attack. That's the only thing that'll go through the walls. But really though, it isn't too much of a hassle. Mainly because I'm already full on E-tanks and W-tanks. And I already recharged most of my weapons using the W-tank in the previous part. But everything has been leading up to here. It's time to fight the final boss, or the penultimate boss. And there's Bass. And apparently, he's been affected by the virus in some way, considering his actions and personalities are really out of context. But he seems to still share that penchant for Mega Man's destruction. Alright, in the first phase we fight Bass here. His strategy is similar to Proto Man's in one way, but he's a combination of something else. Like Proto Man, he travels from the left to right or right to left part of the screen. He'll either dash towards you and then jump, or jump and dash towards you. And in between that, if he jumps first, he'll fire a string of his pellet shots below at a diagonal angle. Or if he starts sliding towards you afterwards, before, he'll fire a spread of, or burst fire of 4 pellet shots. His last attack is where he combines with treble and fires these 3 large enemy pellets and his arcing pattern, or spread pattern to be precise, at 3 different angles. If you slide correctly, you can dodge them. His main weakness is the Comet Dash, though it's really not necessary. In some regards, I find him to be easier than by Proto Man, mainly because he jumps so high and dashes so long. And by defeating Bass, apparently we've knocked him out, and knocked him out of his virus control. But surprise! Well, I guess it's pretty obvious by this point who the main villain is. And here's Dr. Wily, with his new Wily Machine. I wonder what the number designation is. It's not Wily Machine number 10. I would say 11, but there are probably several games in between, so Wily Machine Unlimited. And apparently Mega Man has been the only robot who hasn't been affected by the new virus. And yep, Wily's created the virus. It's time to face Dr. Wily's over-engineered skull machine. I mean, look at it. I know the normal skull machines from Dr. Wily are quite large, but I haven't seen it this large before. I mean, it's crazy. Now the only way you can damage him is by hitting the cockpit. But to do that with your normal buster shot, you must use the rush coil, or rush jet. So instead I decided to use his weakness, which in this case is the yo-yo cutter. He has 4 or 5 sets of attacks. First one is in this form is when he fires those ice cubes. He first stomps on the ground, and then releases ice cubes, somewhat like the Yellow Devil series. Another one is when he fires those 3 orbs which hold him in their position. Another one is when he tries horizontally matching onto you and trying to shock you. He does it 2 times. And the last one is when he tries ramming you with those bulldoze towards you. But with that, it's time for the second phase of the fight, which I kind of do sloppily. Now, there are 2 ways of dodging this attack when he tries ramming towards you. You can either just shoot it with your pellet shots, or you could just jump over it with the rush coil. And in order to damage him, when he jumps up, you must hit it with the yo-yo cutter, or a similar weapon. Here I try showing off dodging him by using the rush coil, but I completely fail at doing so. Because after he's done rushing towards you with his jetpack boosters, he'll try walking towards you. And unfortunately you can't push him back. You must either jump over it, or use the Comet Dash. But really though, the only time he's vulnerable is when he jumps up and exposes himself and waggles his eyebrows. But really though, he isn't too bad of a fight. And yeah, and when he jumps up, he'll fire a spread of 2 or 3 pellets, which home in your position, but it's pretty easy to dodge by just sliding. And he's down. And by defeating Dr. Wily, the entire floor collapses. And like Mega Man 2, Mega Man 10, and a few other Mega Man games, it's time for the next stage, which isn't shown on the map. Though, I do find it nice that epilogues actually provided the stage paths which are actually accurate to the level design themselves. As in several Mega Man games, the map pathways are not accurate to the actual stages themselves, but here they are, for the most part, so that's nice. It's the final stage, and thus begins the long drop downwards. There's no need for me to collect these extra items, so might as well skip them. And that was 10 sets of shutters we just went through. And the first time I went through that, I was thinking, huh? What's going on? Yeah, the only enemies we'll fight here are basically Tellies and Toadies, so it isn't too much of a problem. But with that, it's time to fight the final boss. In quotes, at least. And yep, here's Wily's secret project. And most powerful. It's the alpha prototype robot, who we all know as Zero. He has no weapons, but his main weapon is basically himself. As shown over here, none of our special weapons or Buster can actually damage him. He's completely immune to our attacks, basically. And the boss music shown here takes a lot of teams from various Zero teams from the X series. But yeah, there's no way of taking him out. Though I know that some fellow YouTubers played around with him quite a bit. And yep, even with his fists, we can't do anything to him. Yeah, I wanted to play around with him a little bit more using the glue shot where he couldn't reach me, but sadly, that wasn't the case. And yeah, he exceeded the description of Mega Man Knowledge Base, as his weapons himself, and he has no weakness. The good point is that he's not invulnerable, but as we see right now, a bad point is that he has alpha programming, which leads to his downfall, as he was not able to finish Mega Man off, even though he pretty much cut Mega Man's Buster arm off. He loves destruction, but he dislikes Mega Man. And Dr. Wily takes him away. If this was a real boss battle and Zero was completely complete, or at least in beta form, we would have been dead. Yeah, and Mega Man is in severe pain now, as losing his Buster arm almost killed him. So now we have to escape. Of course, without our Buster arm, we have no way of attacking enemies. So the best shot is to avoid them as much as possible. Over here are some life energy pickups if you don't have any E-tanks to use. Which are pretty nice, as if we didn't have it, then any one attack could just insta-kill us. And if we weren't fast enough while escaping from this fortress, well, it will die from the fortress exploding, so be brisk. But with that, we're out of here. But sadly, Mega Man has run out of energy. He can't go on. The fight with Zero took a huge toll out of him. And also a direct reference to the Mega Man X series. Dr. Wily escapes, and the Fortress 6 blows up. But alas, someone teleports out of there. And there's Proto Man. He's quite beat up from our battle. But... And yeah, here begins the sad music. Which makes sense really, as the virus has affected almost every single robot except Mega Man, so the entire world is at risk and is held on Mega Man's shoulders now. Proto Man can't help Mega Man anymore, or as much. And Mega Man's savior is Base. He's kind of ticked off, well, kind of, more like royally pissed off, considering that Dr. Wily has created a new alpha prototype to destroy Mega Man. And of course, Mega Man survives. Was there any doubt? I mean, has there been any Mega Man fan game where Mega Man dies in it, officially? Yeah, it's still kind of funny that Base was the one who kidnapped Dr. Wily, but at the same time, he was the one who brought Mega Man back to Light Labs. Nice circular. And so, Mega Man foiled Dr. Wily's plans, and peace was restored for now. Dr. Wily, however, disappeared along with the virus he created. Who was that mysterious robot? What power? This time, Mega Man knew that he would have to fight again. But he also knew that he would never give up, for the sake of the world, for everlasting peace. And that's that. From this point on, is now the endings for each of the 9 Robot Masters. And they're basically returning to society after being cured of that virus. Well, cured and repaired. And looking at what this game is showing, it appears that the virus is like a more severe version of Robo-Enza. This picture of Tech Man is a reference to Metal Gear Solid 3, which is one of MegaphileX's most favorite games. There's also a nice reference here that giving the height, weight, attack, defense, mobile, the form of movement, all sorts of things, which is kind of like a reference to Mega Man 6, as well as the first 3 Mega Man X games, though more so to Mega Man 6. And it also gives a nice title to them, like Jetman being the ruler of the sky, Glue Man being the master of plaster. Clever. But yeah, going back to the virus thing, apparently this virus Wily created seems to be a more severe strain of Robo-Enza, or Robo-Enza Mach 2. And it's kind of implied that this virus will eventually become the Wily virus, aka the Maverick virus, in the Mega Man X series and so on. So yeah, a nice connection, though this ending is also kind of polarized in a way. Polarized, not really polarized, but more mediocre, considering what happens at the end with Zero beating Mega Man up and the player having no ability to fight it off. The player has some ability, but it's ultimately no choice. So it's a completely unwinnable fight. You can play around with him, but there's no choice. There's no freedom to go beyond it and beat Zero, or at least temporarily disable or escape from him. But I don't find it to be too bad. Kind of ironic here, Yo-Yo Man originally hated children, but now he loves them. Probably was the virus acting up. Really though, talking about the Robot Masters themselves, I quite like their designs. They have a lot of variation and have nice creative styles. Each one has a different focus, from the army to explosives to industrial to jet, comets, cutting. A nice mix of the serious badass Robot Masters and the more silly ones, or semi-silly. But of course, that was there since Mega Man 3 or so. find it funny that Comet Woman has more mobility than Jetman, though in terms of the boss battle I say Jetman has more mobility. Well, of course in terms of weapons, the Comet Woman's weapon has more mobility. And we don't know who created Yoku Man. I'm assuming it's Dr. Wily or something, but we have no clue. And with that, it's time for the official credits. And, kind of like Super Mario World end credits, it's time to show off the names of each of the enemies. I do like the enemy variation, the Robot Master variation, and whatnot. As for the stage gimmicks, I quite enjoyed it, ranging from the low-gravity Comet Woman stage, the glue blocks and gluey conveyor belts in Glue Man stage, to the more classic Tank Man stage, Tri-Nitro Man's explosions, Jet Man's man-powered platforms, and all sorts of enemies coming from everywhere. And so on, Rainbow Man's force beams, more advanced puzzle-based force beams, Yo-Yo Man's more, I would say, classic design, Yoku Man's Yoku Spike block infested region, and so on and so forth. And Nail Man's, well, also classic stage. All of them were enjoyable in their own ways. Note that we haven't faced these 4 last enemies yet, but we'll be facing them in the extras. As for the bosses, like I said, I really enjoyed their patterns, though unlike comparing it to Rock Force, I think the bosses in Rock Force are much more difficult, as they have more variation in their patterns. But I do find Jetman to be the hardest, as well as kind of Yoku Man and Glue Man. All enjoyable to fight. The weapons were all have nice variation as well, enjoyable to use. Music was awesome, especially Occupied Wily Fortress 3. In fact, the entire Wily Fortress stages were references to different music pieces. All quite enjoyable. Gameplay was solid, reminding me of Mega Man 2, 3, building upon the previous classics. And of course, in the feel of the game, the spirit of it, it's kind of hard to define, but it's very enjoyable. I think of it as a very true successor to Mega Man 10, or the entire classic series. True Mega Man fan game, one deserving of the title of 25th anniversary Mega Man title. But it lost out to Street Fighter Cross Mega Man, but I think of this game being the true 25th Mega Man fan game. Thank you Megaphilex and your team, and the musicians, playtesters, designers, graphic artists, etc., for designing this awesome game. I really enjoyed this experience, and I would solidly recommend someone play it again. There's a lot of replayability, alternate paths, a lot of playstyles, especially for speedrunning. And with the title credits ending, here's some of the extras. Here's an even more explicit link to the Mega Man X series, this time to X himself. The keyword being endless potential for the future. But with that, the main game of Mega Man Unlimited is done. But this LP isn't done just yet. There were 3 new features added to Update 1.2, so I'll be covering them in the next parts to come, as well as the charge shot in 1.2.1. So yeah, thanks for watching viewers and have a nice day. Toodles!